I made a video about reincarnation a little while ago, and it's one of my biggest videos, as most people, including me, love the idea that our soul is eternal, and there might just be a grand design to our lives. Reincarnation could prove that we're not just here wandering this beautiful planet with no real purpose. And I think that's why so many of us are obsessed with the idea of reincarnation. Now, before we get into some of the world's most credible and most amazing reincarnation stories, let's first talk about Dr. Stevenson. Dr. Stevenson spent most of his very impressive career researching reincarnation. Dr. Stevenson investigated thousands of cases, and most of them were children. Dr. Stevenson would document the child's statements, then he would go out and try to identify the deceased person the child remembers being. And in some rare cases, he was even able to match birthmarks that were verified by medical records. Dr. Stevenson spent more than 40 years investigating reincarnation. Skeptics and scholars both agree that Dr. Stevenson's work is by far the best evidence that we have about reincarnation. Now, due to the fact that reincarnation fits into a paranormal type of area, most of his colleagues never gave his work very much attention. But hopefully, that will soon change. This is one of the most famous cases of reincarnation. It really put reincarnation on the map for us people from the West in the middle 20th century. While under hypnosis, a woman named Virginia started to remember her past life as a 19th century Irish woman. Maury Bernstein, an amateur hypnosis, was obsessed with uncovering people's lives with hypnosis, and Maury struck gold with Virginia. During their first hypnosis session, Maury asked Virginia to go back until she found herself in another place and another time. Virginia started to breathe very heavily. Then she said that she saw herself scratching the paint off her bed because she was very angry over having just received an awful spanking. As Maury was listening, Virginia started to talk more about her past life, and he started to get a little freaked out. He even noticed that Virginia was not speaking in the same voice. So Maury wanted to know who the heck he was talking to. Virginia identified herself as Bridie. After this session, Maury knew that he had finally found a reincarnated person, and of course, he wanted to continue, and so did Virginia. They uncovered that Bridie's real name was Bridget Murphy. While under hypnosis, Virginia told amazing stories of her past life, such as playing hide and seek with her brother Duncan, spending time at a school in Cork where she spent her time studying to be a lady. She said that when she was 66, she fell down a flight of stairs and was left crippled. She even knew that she died on a Sunday while her husband was at church. One of the more interesting things about Virginia's amazing stories is while under hypnosis, she even remembered what she did in the afterlife. She said that in the afterlife you feel no pain or hate, and you can talk to other dead people, but basically all you do is just wait until you have been chosen to come back to life. And what makes this case so famous and very credible is a lot of things that Virginia said while being hypnotized is things that she just couldn't possibly know. Such as Catholics could teach at Queen's University even though it was a Protestant institution. Then there were such details as Bridie knowing about the old Irish custom of dancing at weddings and putting money in the bride's pocket. A lot of things that Virginia said while being hypnotized was more like common knowledge that only people of that time could possibly know. Now, once the story started to get very famous, hordes of investigators were determined to expose Virginia and Maury as nothing more than common hoaxers. But in the end, all the investigators did was validate Virginia's claims. As one by one, they all turned out to be true, right down to the name of her childhood grocer. But no one, as of yet, has found any evidence that a woman named Bridget or Bridie Murphy ever existed, and people are still looking. Now, if someone finds proof that Bridget or Bridie Murphy did in fact exist in the year and the location that Virginia claims while being under hypnosis, this case will be the best documented proof of reincarnation. John and Florence Pollock had two very beautiful daughters. One was age 6 and the other age 11. And on May 5th, 1957, their two daughters were tragically killed in a car crash while on their way to church. John and Florence thought that they were broken beyond repair. They just couldn't deal with this tragedy. But about a year later, John found out that his wife was pregnant. John and Florence were ecstatic. For the first time since their daughter's death, they were happy. This news lifted them out of their darkness. The doctor informed them that she was only carrying one child, but John disagreed, and he claimed that his wife was carrying reincarnated twins. Now this was very odd for someone to say, but John truly believed this. And on October 4th, 1958, Florence did give birth to twins. They named them Jillian and Jennifer. John slowly started to notice things. He noticed that the newborns had scars and birthmarks identical to their dead sisters. He thought that maybe his prediction was true. But over time, John stopped caring if they were reincarnated or not. He loved them all the same. But when the children started to get a little bit older, things really started to get interesting. One day, the family drove through Hexham, their old city, and the twins started to point out landmarks, but they had never been there before. When they passed the school that their dead sisters used to go to, they told their parents that that used to be their school. John and Florence were very curious, and they wanted to see if the children could name their deceased daughter's old possessions, and they were able to correctly name every teddy bear and doll. And if that wasn't enough, one day Florence noticed that the girls were playing a very horrible game. The children were reenacting dying by a car crash. John and Florence no longer had any doubts. They knew their children were reincarnated. But when the girls got a little older, their memories seemed to vanish. And now they live perfectly normal lives and have no more memory of their past life. When James was very young, he started to remember his past life. He very clearly remembered that he used to be a Navy pilot. Young James was obsessed with toy planes. As James started to get a little bit older, he started having very bad nightmares. He told his parents that he died in the Pacific in World War II, and he even knew his co-pilot's name, Jack Larson, and he also knew the boat's name that he used to take off from, the Natoma. James was only 3 years old at the time. He was so persistent and convincing that his parents actually started to believe him. So James's father wanted to do some research and see if there was any truth to his son's claims. He uncovered that his little boy was right about everything. There was a Pacific ship called the Natoma and a pilot named Jack Larson. James's father also discovered that a pilot named James M. Houston died exactly how his child said that he died, and at the exact same location. James's father was just blown away, so he wanted to contact Houston's sister, and they all now believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that James is the reincarnated soul of James M. Houston. This is one of my most favorite alleged cases of reincarnation. This case has always been known as the Druze Boy, as the names have never officially been released to the public. So I'm going to call this young lad Tim. When Tim was 3 years old, he told his parents that he was murdered in his past life. He told them that he was struck in the head with an axe. He told his parents that he even knew where he was buried. Now Tim drove his parents crazy, as all day long he would not stop talking about his past life. Tim's parents finally decided to go to the place where he said he was buried, hoping that it would finally calm him down. Tim took his parents right to the location with no doubts. So his father, really curious, started to dig, and he couldn't believe it. There was a skeleton, and this skeleton skull was badly damaged by what seemed to be a large axe. And if that wasn't enough evidence, Tim even knew where the murder weapon was buried, and his father dug that up shortly after. Now this amazing story started to spread like wildfire, and a man named Dr. Ellie Lash heard these amazing stories, and he wanted to investigate. Dr. Lash took the young boy to where he said he used to live. Tim told Dr. Lash the name he used to go by, and the villagers told Dr. Lash that there was a man with that name that used to live in this village. But he disappeared about 4 years ago. Dr. Lash was becoming a believer. He couldn't believe that a 3-year-old boy could know these things. Tim was showing the doctor where he used to live, and Tim knew everybody's name within the village. Then he told Dr. Lash the name of his murderer. Dr. Lash tracked this man down, and upon questioning, he confessed to murdering a man with an axe about 4 years ago. Dr. Ellie Lash let the world know about this amazing boy and his mind-blowing stories proving that reincarnation is real. But Dr. Lash wanted to hide the name's locations for privacy reasons, and sadly, he died in 2009, so no one is able to follow up these amazing claims. But I don't doubt that this story might just be true, as stories like this keep surfacing all the time, and in the end, the facts do check out. Fermat Sharma was born in India in 1944. When Fermat was very young, he would tell his mother that she should go get his wife in Moradabad so she can cook for him, and that way his current mother could take a much-needed break. Fermat's mother was not only shocked that he said that, she was also shocked that he knew about the city of Moradabad, as it was more than 100 miles away. When Fermat was only 3 years old, he would sit around the dinner table and tell his family about working in his family business. He told them that it was called the Mohan Brothers, and they would sell clean water and cookies. Fermat would also tell his family that they shouldn't eat curd. He explained to his mother that in his past life he got very ill from eating too much of it. Fermat also hated taking baths. He said that he died in a bathtub. Fermat would constantly beg his mother to take him to Moradabad. Fermat's mother said that she would take him after he learned to read. So little Fermat would spend most of his days learning how to read. Then one day, Fermat's mother told Fermat that they were finally going to Moradabad, and Fermat was going crazy. When they finally got there, they uncovered that everything Fermat said turned out to be true. There was a business called the Mohan Brothers, and they did sell cookies and clean water, and one of their family members did die in 1943 from eating too much curd. He died shortly after taking a bath. Now these stories are just so amazing, and there's so many of them out there that I don't doubt that most of them are true. I love the idea of reincarnation, but I don't like the idea that we keep coming back to Earth. I hope it's more like the movie Defending Your Life. Once we live enough lives here on Earth and we learn what we need to learn, we get to go to another place, another planet, deep into the cosmos. And we just keep learning and evolving until we have no fear, we know no pain, and we're only surrounded by love and know only happiness. Now that would be just fantastic. Until next time, this is Paranormal Junkie. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.